Just bring it.
Was that not the first one you did for Jay?
Was it?
What else would you do for Jay?
No. You know what's funny? If we go about 25 episodes back, I probably did the exact same motion and everything. No. Jose the assistant is my name. I don't know.
J-double-E or J-E-double.
Oh my God.
J-A-double-R-E-double-T.
No.
But if you ask me, he's just gonna be G-double-O-double-N-double-E. Gone. That was hilarious.
Double-O-N.
That's how Vince decided to spell it.
G-double-O. That's why I was like, what the fuck is he spelling?
No, when Vince bought WCW,
Yeah.
and he did a big promo about like certain wrestlers coming over. He's like, and as for a certain someone, well, how does he put it? J-E-double-F. Yeah, he's gonna be G-double-O-double-N-double-E. Gone. Because he really hated Jeff Jarrett.
Anyway, what's going on, everybody? I mean, I guess our own Botchamania add me to it with the intro, what I just did. But anyway, what's going on? Fuck you.
That's a J one.
No, I'm saying because the fact
It's not the J one, but it's a J one.
I'm saying you came up with two that
Oh.
quick. That's why I was like, fuck you came up with two that quick. And I apparently I only thought of the second one. What'd be funny is if we go about 25 episodes back, if not 26, because yeah, but if we go 25, 26 episodes back, and I did the same shit, I was like, no. Anyway, like I was saying, what's going on, everybody? This is the Whatever We Want podcast. I am one of your hosts, and I go by the name of Superjaz.
Superjaz.
As nature intended. Superjaz. Jazz, SJ, JT, whatever you want, what have you, and the like. And as always, I am joined by the other host of the show.
You know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent, big ugly himself, Omari Ellis, feogrande on YouTube, sometimes referred to as Pete on this show.
And yes, everybody, as I said, this is the Whatever We Want podcast. As it says in the name, we do not lead this conversation. This conversation leads us. And we let these chips fall where they may.
Every Wednesday.
Whatever year it is, it's always May. And we let these chips fall where they, that month. That was bad. See, I tried to do something different instead of like where they may, where they can, where they might. I tried to do something different. That was bad. Apparently, my improv skills, like on this episode, are ass.
It happens, man.
Ass rhymes with jazz.
Ah.
They're uber ass, like super. Anyway. I knew that one was bad before I said it. To be fair, I knew that one was bad before I said this shit. So, unless you want to throw out a topic, I'll start with a topic just to get this ball rolling.
Go right ahead.
Have you seen Halloween Ends?
No.
We won't be going down that road. I just knew you had seen it.
I did not plan on seeing it, though.
Have you seen the original Halloween? Like 1978?
Yes.
What'd you think of it?
I thought it was a classic horror movie, and I get why it's a classic horror movie. It did not make me go, let me watch all of these Halloweens.
Did you genuinely
But it is
think
a solid
it was a classic?
movie.
You genuinely, are you saying it's a classic because that's the consensus, or did you genuinely feel that it was a classic?
I don't regret watching it, but I am also saying because I know it's a classic.
Consensus classic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying, because I know you a lot of times you're like, well, everybody says it, so, you know, I get why people say, but What did you think of the motherfuckers? What I'm asking. Right?
Yeah, it was all right. Like I didn't become the Michael Myers. Let me watch every single Michael Myers film that most Halloween viewers have become. I'm not a big on horror, as it's even stated on my other channel. Like
I'm not big on horror either.
the two Halloween things we did for our movie month were both comical versions of horror.
What y'all do? Tales from the Hood and what else?
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I've heard of that and I've heard it's good.
Yeah, you should watch it.
Okay. Shout out to
Spoilers,
this guy.
I guess it's comedic.
Well, I mean, bless you.
Sorry.
Look at the trailer. Pretty much see that coming. The sneeze coming. No. You look at the trailer. Pretty much see that. What was I gonna say? No. I am not big on horror in the slightest. I think what is so funny, and you remember this because we've known each other for fucking ever. When I was younger, horror used to scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
You scare the shit. But as I've got
part of the design.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I'm a little ass kid, of course I'm gonna be fucking, terrified to all shit. I remember I grew up in a 2-story house, and I would be afraid to be in one story of the house by myself. If like my mom would have to be like, she could be way in the other room on like the second floor, but if I'm on the second floor, she had to be on the second floor. I would not go to the first floor if she wasn't on the first floor, or vice versa. When I was so afraid and petrified, I remember that. But no,
Basements used to always give me trouble.
Basements gave everybody trouble for a minute. Yeah. What was I saying? But no, as I got older, horror became like just so unrealistically comical to me that I would find myself unintentionally laughing at some horror movies as I like became an adult and like got older, like early 20s, mid 20s and shit. And probably even like late teens, to be honest, because it was just like, look at this, just impractical, just straight stupid shit. Like, but I do like movies and I like thrillers more than horror. So when I saw the original 78 Halloween, and because I forgot, I what made me want to watch it? Probably the Rewatchables podcast. Shout out to the Ringer Rewatchables, where they talk about like they do a rewatchable movie every week, and they talk about like what's so good, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Game. They even did Top Gun Maverick, Pitch Perfect, rewatchable movies, and that might have been what it was or something. I forget what it was that made me want to watch it. So I watched it. And I was watching because and my thing is when I have like a decent amount of free time, which I happen to have lately, I always watch the ins and outs and what's this and what's that and the these and the those, like how they made the movie and all this about the movie and how they casted it and this and that. So I started looking into all this about it, and then I watched the movie and I was like, this movie is actually, even if you take the horror element out of it, it is just a really good movie.
Halloween Ends?
No, I'm talking about the original 78 Halloween.
Oh, okay.
If you take the horror element out of the 78 Halloween, because I was looking at something somebody was talking about, it might have been for Halloween Ends, but they were talking about the original Halloween. And they were saying if you look at the original Halloween, it's actually not even that much of a horror movie more than it is a thriller.
I can give you that.
Yeah, because the killing in the original one doesn't happen. I think, obviously, if you ain't seen the original Halloween, you should know by now. Spoilers, people. They might have it, but I think aside from the trucker that gets found on the side of the road that like Mike Myers stole his jumpsuit or whatever the fuck. Aside from that, there's no killing in that movie until the last like 20 minutes, maybe 25. So yeah, because it's really just stalking. This dude's looking at me. Oh shit, where'd he go? He's in the sheets. Oh shit, where'd he go? Face coming, all that shit. And then the killing in that movie compared to most horror movies in the later Halloweens is nowhere near as brutal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why I could get into it. And if you want to be honest,
All right.
the acting in the original Halloween movie is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's good for what it is. It's got a serious level of indie camp,
Okay.
but it's a reason why Jamie Lee Curtis ended up launching her career off of that, because she was the only one. It's the reason why she was the lead. She's the only one besides Donald Pleasance and what was his name, Nick Castle, who played the Shape, Michael Myers. Aside from those two, Jamie Lee Curtis was the only one that was actually like a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but no. So I saw the '78 Halloween, which made me want to check out the next one, Halloween 2, and that's when they convolute the shit out the goddamn story. Yeah, so in the first Halloween, which some shit doesn't need to be explained, depending on who you ask, but it doesn't need to be explained. So in the first Halloween, it's like, why is Michael stalking these people? Why? And it's like, you don't know. And all you know is Dr. Loomis, rest in peace, Donald Pleasance, but all you know is he was just a psychiatrist, and he just knows that I couldn't help him. He's just evil. He's just evil because he's evil. Which is good fucking enough. The second movie, they're like, well, Laurie was actually his estranged sister the whole time, and he's talking like, bitch, get this goofy shit out of here. So, and then she ends up being in a hospital the whole movie. So she like they take it being the possibility of being this like big Haddonfield town, and they shrink it to just a hospital. And now they're brother and sister in some weird ass goofy way that they wanted to just keep the story going. And then your main character, Laurie, is sidelined because her legs are fucked up or some shit, so she can't do too much. Then there's one part in there where they blow part of the fucking hospital up. And it's just like, what are we doing? Yeah, I don't know. But then I didn't watch any more after that, because Halloween 3 stands on its own. Then it got like, I hear goofy convoluted as time went on, when they had like, apparently they had like a fucking cult of Michael Myers in one of the goddamn movies. I think they had one where like a little girl who was like 6 or 7 gets possessed by him or does his bidding, some stupid shit. And I haven't seen them, so I don't know. I know one of them, like in Resurrection, which I think was 97 or 9 or 1000 or 6 or some shit. Some about late 90s or 2000s. Busta Rhymes is in it, the motherfucking movie.
I do remember him being in one of them.
And apparently he starts whooping Michael Myers' ass because with karate that he learned from watching TV or some shit. I'm like, someone's like, yo, what are we fucking doing? We're like, what the fuck? Apparently in H2O, which again, like I said, it's not Michael Myers water. Your ass. You say drowning people. No, it's 20 years after the original. And apparently H2O, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis comes back, chops Michael Myers' head off. But they find a way to say, because my friend who's seen countless fucking movies, shout out to him, but he said that the way that they were able to fix that was she chops his head off, which is like, well, no shit, Michael Myers is dead. But she said something like, in the next one, at the last second when no one knew, Michael Myers switched his body with somebody else. Some stupid shit, like switched outfits or some shit. It's like, what the fuck are y'all doing, man? Like, he switched outfits and they didn't know, and oh shit, you chopped off the wrong head. Like, fuck out of here. So what they did, which is fucking hilarious, they keep retconning the series, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had 1 and they had 2.
All right.
3 stands alone because they wanted it to be an anthology series. So Michael Myers and Laurie Strode and nobody from the original 2 are in that one, because that was supposed to be like its own thing, but they realized that it didn't do well. It was still horror, but it was like not that it didn't do well because people wanted to see Michael Myers and Laurie. Yeah. So then they started doing like the Return of Michael Myers in 4 and like all this other shit, and they retconned the series and said fuck that and then did it over. Then the Rob Zombie's Halloween in 07 and 08, I think it was.
Yeah.
That shit comes out, and that gives Michael Myers a backstory, which a lot of people said he didn't need a fucking backstory. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah. But then 2018, a few years ago, they come out with a movie, and this movie, they retconned everything that happened besides 1978. So they said all these 10 movies, 11 movies, fuck that shit.
Y'all ain't like that anyway.
So they just said 78, 2018. And 2018 opens up and they're like, 40 years ago, Michael Myers attacked a Lori and killed her friends. They didn't like anything else happened. So yeah. And yeah, so and then of course Halloween Ends is named appropriately, but 5 to 10 years, 15 at the most from now, something gonna happen and they gonna resurrect this shit.
Oh yeah.
And they gonna fucking name the shit Halloween, so it's gonna be fucking like the 4th Halloween in the Halloween franchise.
Halloween again.
Right, ... again. What's the name? Because that's like what? Scream. In not when you say Scream, you have to differentiate between Scream 96 or Scream 2022.
They do that shit with games too.
Like name the shit the same thing.
God of War 4 was technically just called God of War, and it's like God of War 2018 because it's a new beginning, because now it's Norse mythology. Just call that shit God of War 4. You're not ignoring the previous games. It's not a reboot. You know what I mean? There's no reason to not call it that, but around the late teens, they got crazy about doing that with just about everything. They just loved it like, this is a new coat of paint, so because this is a new version or new take on it, we're just gonna name it the same as the original as a symbolic thing. Okay, but that's not a reboot. It's literally a sequel. You acknowledge the previous games and everything.
At least with Halloween 78, Halloween 07, and Halloween 2018 were each reboots in the franchise, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, no, you're right. Like, what the fuck? Because with Scream 2022 isn't a reboot either. It's following in the fucking order of the goddamn series. So why couldn't we just say Scream 6? Especially if it's Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4, and then Scream. Why couldn't y'all just... Oh, not Scream 6, Scream 5, Scream 5. So why couldn't y'all just say Scream 5, man? Like, why the fuck, dude? That's like, again, my dude who I was talking about, like, movies and shit, where he was talking about how it's funny where you could say, hey, do you want to watch Shaft, or Shaft? Because all the Shaft movies from the 70s to the 2000s to a few years ago, all of them have been named Shaft. Like, if you actually look it up, they're all named Shaft. It's like, come on, man.
Even this most recent one?
It's just Shaft. Do you want to watch Shaft, or Shaft? Like, what? I don't fucking know, man. Shout out to Richard Roundtree, Sam Jackson, and I forget the dude who played his son.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know who it was, but I remember it. I don't remember the name, rather. I don't know what you're talking about.
But you said you're not planning on seeing Halloween Ends at all?
Nah. I'm not big on horror.
Me either. Like I said, I wouldn't have seen 2018, but my friend, he kept talking about, like, come see, because he had already seen it. And like I said, the movie buff that you say I am, he is a movie buff. This dude has seen so many damn movies. It's like, if there's a movie that he somehow hasn't seen, it's more surprising than a movie he has. So he'll see movies, and then depending on if, he wants to see it, depending on how much he liked it, he'll want you to see it with him. So he's like, okay, I want you to see this movie, and I'll see it with you. So he was like, he wanted me to see 2018 because we were such good friends, and he liked it. So back in 2018, we saw that shit again together. Him again and me the first time. And I was like, damn, this actually, because I wasn't gonna see it. I was like, this is actually good. Oh shit. So we made a plan to see Kills. And Kills gets, and not just because the Halloween Ends came out, Kills gets a lot of unwarranted hate. A lot of unwarranted hate.
Oh.
Because a lot of people shat on Kills. I kind of understand why, but get a lot of unwarranted hate. Halloween Ends is getting the appropriate amount of hate.
I'm about to say, I have not heard anything good. I've heard it was terrible.
I mean, do you care if I kind of go in on the story?
Not really.
All right, we don't have to make this. I mean, I guess it is a Halloween Ends podcast, but whatever.
We don't lead the conversation in a few days anyway.
We don't lead the conversation. The conversation leads us. There you go. Nah. So what made, spoiler alert, like I've been fucking said, if y'all couldn't tell. Anyway, because this is the big thing about the movie. What made this movie so bad is, like I said, I hope y'all didn't hear this, but excuse me. You can leave that in too. That's fucking hilarious. Like I said, no. Like I said, back in fucking early 80s, they said, oh shit, we did a whole movie without Laurie Strode, without Michael Myers, had nothing to do with Haddonfield and all that shit. Didn't do well. Damn. We fucked up. Let's not do that again. And then with all the reboots and all the goofy movies and all this stupid shit, they still had Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, or even in the backstory with Rob Zombie, they had some, not Jamie Lee Curtis, but somebody playing a young Laurie and all this other shit, right?
Yeah.
This fucking movie, the way it opens, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is just a dude, and that's just how they opened it. 45, 50 minutes in, and at least about 40 minutes in, Michael Myers hasn't even shown up.
Oh, no.
That's not good. You're following this random ass fucking like early 20s motherfucker named Corey in his like descent into becoming evil, I guess. And so basically the movie opens up with him accidentally killing this kid he was babysitting. And he really did accidentally do it. The kid was a bratty fucking kid. These people lived in like a 4-story mansion or some shit. And the kid was like 6-7 years old. He was babysitting them. He thought the kid was like upstairs somewhere he shouldn't have been, locked him in a room. So then the kid is like, I got you. And he's like having like freaking out, like, let me out. Kicks the door open. Door kicks into the kid, kicks him off a fucking banister, and the kid fucking dies. It was like,
Damn.
Jarring. It was jarring as fuck within the first like 10 minutes of this movie. Damn. And it was like, oh shit. And of course, the parents come back home because he was like babysitting on Halloween night in 2019. He was babysitting on Halloween night so the parents could go to a costume party. They come back just in time to see their fucking child die, right? And then somehow this motherfucker, like present day 3 years later, somehow this dude is like off. Because it was like an accident or some shit. And I'm like, because I was sitting there with my boy, and I'm like, how the fuck? And he's like, well, he didn't mean to. I'm like, I know he didn't mean to, but that's still manslaughter, and you did kill the motherfucker. Even if it was accidental, you killed a child. Yeah. Even if you don't get life, you should get at least 10 years minimum, goddammit. Like,
I agree.
But so and it's a small town, so everybody knows him as the kid killer. People start bullying him and all this shit or whatever, and you slowly see his descent into being a good kid trying to make it, to this shit happens in town is against him, and then these people bully him. This motherfucker is gotta be 21, 22, maybe 23, and fucking he gets bullied by, and look, I was in marching band, shout out to my marching band. He gets bullied by 4, really 3, because one of them didn't want to do it, but he gets bullied by 4, like, 17, 16-year-old marching band students. And it was just like, really?
Marching band students?
Really? And they like press this dude, and it's like, oh, you the kid killer. Yeah, and one dude even like, I think points his drumsticks in his face, like, oh, it's like, really, bro? Like, okay.
Have these people ever been to high school?
You're right. The marching band, my guy. So the whole movie, like 40 minutes in, no Michael Myers. We're following Corey. We're seeing Corey slowly go from being good to bad and all this shit. Then also, where's Laurie? Well, all this whole I'm a badass shit that they did in the 2018 movie where Laurie was fucking holed up in a goddamn like fortress or whatever the fuck, like away in the woods, training herself to be a skilled marksman and reinforcing her house to damn near be Sarah Connor in the Halloween world. No, Laurie's just living out in the fucking open, and now she's Susie Homemaker. What in the fuck are we doing, man? So, to somewhat condense the shit, we keep following Corey. He has to go to the hospital because he breaks some glass in his hand at one point when he gets mad with the bullies and shit. And Laurie takes him to the hospital where her granddaughter is like a nurse assistant or some shit. These motherfuckers look at each other and instantly fall in love, which the shit was forced as fuck. I'm sorry.
That does sound forced.
Amazing acting, forced ass writing. I'm sorry. These motherfuckers pretty much are like in love with each other after go, and they say, okay, go to this. She's basically throwing herself at the dude, and he's like, huh? And then they finally do it, and they go to costume party together. And these motherfuckers known each other for, obviously they've known of each other because of small town and what happened, but they've known each other for real all of like maybe a week. They go on their first date to this Halloween party, this costume party, and now they're fucking acting like they've been together for a year or some shit, the way the romance is going.
Well, I mean, that sounds slower than Romeo and Juliet. Literally met at a party and they kill each other, or they kill themselves for one another.
Yeah, it is the ultimate love story, but when you actually look at Romeo and Juliet and you dissect everything about it, so much of Romeo and Juliet is like, but this happened so quick. But I mean, true love is possible to happen right away, but was it really that? But wait, how old were they? They were young as shit. But I'm gonna kiss your lips for poison. You just kind of did some necrophiliac shit. But like, it's like, if you dissect all this shit, it's like,
oh, happy dagger.
Pretty much. No, man. And then, but this is the kicker with ends too, right? So Corey fights the like bullies. At one point they confront him after he's leaving the party and he's like mad and shit, and this is like when the evil is like overtaking him on shit, right? He's getting more and more upset the town is against him and all this shit, and it's like I respect what they tried to do. Okay, you could show how a good person can have a descent into actually becoming evil.
Yeah.
And the actor did a good job portraying it. It just, the execution and the writing was not good in that sense. So they bully this motherfucker. They get in a scuffle. This motherfucker gets thrown off a goddamn overpass, right?
All right.
And I mean, finally comes to, and Michael Myers takes him back into the sewer that he's been in for the last 4 years. First of all, what the hell? Why has Michael Myers not been terrorizing people? Why has he been living in a goddamn sewer?
That's a good question.
After the events of Halloween Kills, where Michael Myers somehow, after getting his like ass like confronted and fighting an angry mob, which the whole thing they're like, and Laurie giving this whole monologue of, I thought he was human, but he's not. He's not human. He's something else entirely, which kind of lets you know, okay, he's human, but what is he? Is he? Because he fights an angry mob, and when they got him down, he just gets up out of no goddamn where and kills every fucking body at the end of Kills. These motherfuckers are all messed up in Halloween Ends and shit, right? So he has Corey in the like sewer drain that he's like staying in. When he comes to, he's about to kill him. looks into his eyes. They do some flashbacky, like flash for your eyes shit. And he spares him.
But why?
You tell me, and you ain't even seen the movie. And we basically know the same amount of reasoning why, and you haven't even seen the shit. So yeah, spares him, and then to make the short of the long, Corey starts like killing people or whatever. There's some parts where Corey and Michael do tag team kills in some parts.
Oh god.
Corey starts killing somebody, and then he kind of like encourages, and Michael like helps him kill. It's like, what are we doing? And then the part that really pissed a lot of people off, and for good reason, myself included, and I'm not even a fucking Halloween Michael Myers fanatic.
All right.
Is later on in the movie when Corey is really like in that evil sense, and he's like finally starting to descend into the madness and all this shit. He's about to go on this like killing spree. He goes to the sewer and says to Michael, "You have something I need." Goes in and fucking beats Michael Myers and takes his mask and knife. What were they thinking, man? This fucking like early 20s motherfucker just whooped Michael Myers'
So he
ass.
just took Michael Myers' identity, and that's why Halloween is quote unquote ending.
Oh no. No, that's not why I did it.
All right.
So he takes the mask and knife. He finally kills the high school bullies and shit. It kills a few other people. And what's funny is he worked in a mechanic shop. So, I got a mask and knife. Oh, I got a jumpsuit, just so happened. That was dumb. Anyway, so he confronts Lori, and she's like, the whole movie she didn't want him seeing her daughter or granddaughter because, well, she was cool with it, but she started not being cool with it because she saw like some evil in him, and the only evil like I ever saw like similar to that ever was Michael, and now it's in you, so I'm okay with this, but I'm really not type of deal.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, well, if you want to kill me, go ahead. But at first she could have killed him. Then she said, fuck it. She said, you want to kill me, go ahead. This is what really pissed me off.
Okay.
Because we watched this whole movie that is not Michael Myers centric, and we follow this Corey Cunningham motherfucker. Okay. And it seems like they're leading him to be the next Michael Myers, right? Even to the point where he's got alliteration in his name. Michael Myers, Corey Cunningham. That's his name, right? Okay. So it's this whole thing, and I'm like, well, this is stupid, but they're leading him to be the next Michael Myers. This motherfucker kills himself, so it's like I watched the whole movie for a story that I didn't like, for y'all to say fuck that anyway.
That's pretty fucked up. Not gonna lie to you. It's like, yeah, we're gonna set up this guy to be the new Michael Myers, and then he kills himself. JK, Halloween's over. What?
And it was just like, what the hell? And then the last like 15 minutes, now we get the big trailer Michael Myers, Laurie Strode like fight that they've been pretty much making Halloween end seem like it's gonna be a whole movie of them just whooping each other's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get that in the last 15 minutes.
Oh, well, at least you got it.
And
I'm not saying that saves the movie or nothing. It clearly doesn't, but.
And then what's his name? Laurie gets the best of him. She kills him. She unmasks him. You still don't see his face. Which part of me is like good. Part of me is like, last movie y'all could have shown us his face, whether it was a big deal or not. But then they make sure, and I said they did this one so just for the audience and not so much for the characters. But the town gets together. They basically say fuck the law for like one night. They get together. They take Michael. They fucking strap him to Laurie's car. It goes to this drunk yard. where the jaws that like grind up metal and cars and shit, and they put his ass in that motherfucker and grind his fucking body up. They were like,
Oh,
no.
damn.
That's why I was like, they did that for the audience to let us know, no, this motherfucker's dead, everybody. So yeah, but
So he'll
what
be
made
back.
what made the movie stupid, like I said, was it was already bad enough that we watched this whole movie that wasn't Michael Myers centric. This whole movie where Michael Myers is sidelined, looking human. Okay, he's in his 60s. All right, whatever. But looking human, injured, all this shit, shell of himself. This dude looks like he's gonna be the next Michael Myers descent into madness or whatever the fuck. Where Corey gets more kills than Michael Myers in Michael Myers' own goddamn movie. All this shit.
Yeah.
Them to just kill that motherfucker towards the end and just be like, you didn't like that story? And it didn't matter anyway, bitch.
You didn't like that story? Us neither, but we needed to fill some runtime.
It felt like that's why everybody should know it, man. And it's like for this to be the supposed last Halloween, but even more so for it to be, and I kind of believe the possibility, unless it's like a random cameo, and maybe not even as Laurie, for this to be Jamie Lee Curtis' last Halloween movie.
Yeah.
I do believe it's possible this might be her last movie, whether the franchise is over or not.
Oh yeah, you said first one came out in '78, right?
Jamie Lee Curtis is like 64 or some shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so probably. Yeah.
So, nah, man, it's like, so if they say this is the last one, but even more so her last one, and this is what started her fucking career, period. This is her first like role, period. And it's like, this is what you went out on. Can you think of like any franchise or whatever that you finally get to the end of it and it can let you down, or a franchise for that matter that you get to the end of it and it like you were happy about it?
I don't know. It's real hard to make it to the end of something.
It really can be.
That takes a long time to get to the end of, and they actually stick the landing.
That's true. Endgame. Granted, it's not the end of the MCU, but it was like the end of like that phase. Endgame, I thought was good. Was really
For it
good.
to be the end of good Marvel movies, I agree. No, I'm kidding, people. I'm kidding, people. I'm more okay with modern day MCU than most people are.
I was about to say, you like Multiverse of Madness a little bit more than me anyway. So.
Yeah, that's what I say. I'm more okay with modern day MCU than most people are. Multiverse of Madness did kind of piss me off for a couple reasons, but I won't get into those.
No Way Home was great.
Huh?
I said No Way Home was great.
No Way Home was good. That was a good one. Anyway, it's hard to stick to landing on long-running series. Like, a lot of things I like, I end up not liking the ending of, even though I can admit to liking like 95% of the things. Hell, technically, as much as I like God of War 3, I didn't like its ending. Granted, you know, we have God of War 4 and now Ragnarok now, but X3, if you want to look at the original X-Men franchise, X3 Last Stand was not liked by anybody.
If I remember I didn't hate that. But then again, I'm weird sometimes because I somehow like what people hate and hate people like. So
it was a movie that what I will say about the movie is it had moments. Mm-hmm. It had some great moments. It was just not a good movie. It just added up to not be a good movie with a lot of the bad things about it. Similar can be said about X-Men Apocalypse, and from what I hear, and it's a shame that I haven't watched this, but I technically haven't watched the movie's second attempt at doing the Phoenix thing, Dark Phoenix. But from what I heard, that was terrible too. Was Sansa Stark as Jean?
With Sophie Turner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that shit. It was bad, dude. It was boring. I'm sorry. I saw Dark Phoenix with my friend I keep talking about. And we both were like, I always say the only thing worse than bad is boring, because at least with bad you give somewhat of a fuck. It was boring. So yeah.
I can see that. I hear it's terrible. I eventually have to watch it though. And yeah, just a lot of different animes and stuff. Over the years, they don't really stick the ending. You could argue the Dragon Ball didn't stick the landing with some people's eyes, especially since they keep adding to it with Super. Like the manga keeps going. So,
Yeah.
I know someone at work was talking about getting a One Piece tattoo, and I was like, even though I really, really enjoyed that series, one, I don't even have a Dragon Ball tattoo, but two, it's like, I couldn't see myself getting a One Piece tattoo unless that series sticks the landing. Especially with it being, because it's like a 25 and counting. It's a 25 and counting year-long manga series. Probably gonna round out around 30, or at least that's what the author's aiming at.
That's nuts.
Then again, the author aimed at 5 years long, and here we are at year 25.
Sound like The Simpsons.
Yes, but also The Simpsons is more of a sitcom, episodic type thing. Yeah, some time has passed. I think
it doesn't follow a linear story.
Yeah, it's not like it's not serial. It's more episodic.
Yeah.
With the occasional, okay, here's a development. This happened. Like Family Guy does the same thing, where it's like, okay, technically time has passed, but only so we can come up with new scenarios to make jokes for the next 20 years.
Right.
Same thing with South Park. They were third graders and then they were fourth graders. But they're gonna be kids for fucking ever.
What's the name? Yeah, because it's like the events from the previous episode don't affect this current episode that you're watching pretty much all the time. But yeah,
unless they wanted to.
But anime, that's always the case.
It's for a lot of mainstream shonen ones, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have your episodic ones as well. Anyway, like Cowboy Bebop is largely episodic, but there's like 4 episodes thrown in there that matter. You know what I mean? Like this big time important that you see this. Anyway, but One Piece, I'm like, this series has been going on for a long ass time. The main reason it lasted longer than the 5 years the author wanted is because the author's too creative and gets too inspired to make new shit. Like, oh, hey, I know I want this character to do this, and then he'll get like wait a minute. What if instead of just this one guy at this level, there were like 6 other motherfuckers at this level? Yeah, and I can warp them into the story here, there. Okay, and he makes it all work. Like, it makes it all seem like, well, this could have been planned the whole time, because people will say some lines early on and shit like that. But I think half of it's ass pull, half of it's intent, or you know, another, or I won't say half of it's ass pull. I'll say half of it's intentional, quarter of it's...
Oh, pull it out of your ass. Okay, I was like, ass pull. I'm thinking POOL, my bad. I was like, what? I don't know if I want to go swimming in that shit. No.
Quarter of it's like, you know, half of it's intentional and foreshadowing and stuff. Quarter of it's like, just pull it out my ass and we'll work with it. And like another quarter is, I'm pulling it out my ass, but I'm gonna make it work in a sense to where you can't tell that that's what I did, because some lines early on in the story, someone said this or something happened, and you can go back and be like, well, technically, yeah, this right here.
Where like he's writing it and he's just like, and then this correlates to that. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, well, as opposed to this correlates to that because I needed to.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, with the way the fan base works of that series and with how long it's been and how much information is out there about the series, because another thing that helps drag out the length of that series was the amount of world building he does, where like every fucking island you go to, they've had their own culture and type of things and blah 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 blah.
That level of creativity, not just with just do one people, just anything, whether it be writing manga, comics, books, music stuff, where not just creativity once, but when it can go on for that long, that shit is always so awe-inspiring to me. When we see, like, we consume this stuff in a certain way that we kind of forget that it's like, this motherfucker's really been coming up with ideas for 25 years. Like, that's nuts to me when I think about it. Like, or you look at somebody like, to put it in music terms, like a Jay-Z or Tech Nine, or who's somebody who's been doing this shit for a long time, Alicia Keys or whatever. Like, I think Jay-Z got 13 albums. Tech Nine got 15. Alicia Keys might be pushing 10, if not over 10. And if each of these albums has 15 to 20, if not 20 plus songs on it, just to be thinking of that. Yeah. The Simpsons 30 years, and you know they're still writing on Superman, even though it's different people, so that's not technically the same, I guess. But like the One Piece, and it's like they're still creating on this shit. How do you? That's amazing to me, man.
Yeah, but it's like that. Every series has ups and downs, and every series has stuff that sits the ending. And it's like, if I'm getting a tattoo or something, I want it to be something I don't have to like hang my head and be like, yeah, I'm a fan of this, even when it's so. Yes, I get it.
I like this up until.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, as much as I wear my Dragon Ball, like I wear Dragon Ball merchandise and stuff like that, and I wear One Piece merchandise. But I'm not getting a fucking tattoo of that shit. I can't guarantee that when I'm like 80, I'm gonna still be like, that's great. Now, if it does stick the landing and I'm like, okay, this was a fantastic series that I still can't necessarily recommend to people because people will go, ew, it's long. It's, at least I could take solace, and I'm like, well, if they did give it a chance, they'd realize that it's good writing. Oh, you know, to an extent. Not saying it's better than any other series and stuff for you people out there before you get a, you say it's a good writing, but it has some kind of plot hole here or there. First off, the series ain't over. Second, so still time for certain plot holes to be filled. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying something that has good writing doesn't mean that you're saying that other stuff doesn't have.
I know, writing. But it's 2022, and a lot of people just assume that's what you're saying when you say you like something. You're saying you hate what they like.
What was I gonna say? I told you I watch battle rap on YouTube. I don't remember what battle or who said it, but somebody. You know, everything I say, everything in battle rap is I'm gonna shoot you and all this and this and this and that in creative ways, and of course it's entertainment. So somebody at one point, I remember one dude was like clip, like the clip on the gun. He's like, clip longer than One Piece, and everybody was like, oh shit, you know, because that's the one thing that I keep hearing, even though I haven't started watching One Piece. I hear it's amazing, but the one thing I keep hearing is One Piece goes on forever. So,
still going.
Yeah.
And the worst part / best part is that the new chapters are still really fucking good. Like there will be like a stretch of chapters where you're like, oh, is he losing it? And then another chapter will come out and where you're like, why are we questioning? Why are we questioning if he's losing it? We should know after 20-something years to trust the process, if you will.
Meanwhile, you got Akira Toriyama with Dragon Ball Z, who was like, I'm going to end it after Frieza. And then the fans are like, no. And then it was good shit.
No.
Right. It was good shit, but you have the one thing where he was like, I'm going to stop it. Everybody will be happy. You're like, what? So, yeah.
No, some series do get hit with that. Whether it's fans or the editors or Shonen Jump itself, like, motherfucker, you are writing more of this series. There's too much money in it. That's what people accuse Bleach of what happened in Bleach, between Shonen Jump being like, motherfucker, you are one of the big three series that is keeping this magazine afloat. You better fucking keep writing. I don't care what you think of something. And then the guy's editors on top of that being like, yeah, what you want to do ain't as good as you think. Do what we say. And then fans not liking it, and then they're being like, well, here's how you can adjust to that. And eventually he just kind of hates it on its way till the end. And the series kind of flop. Well, it doesn't flop, but it dies out. It's the first, I think, of the big three to die out was Bleach.
Unless you're like contractually obligated, which is the thing. Yeah, you don't want to. Well, even if you are contractually obligated, it just sucks to be forced to try and be creative when you felt like you were done with something.
And then when you got an editor that doesn't really agree with you on a lot of things, and so they still just shoot down the creative ideas you do come up with, and then you eventually get that death call from Shonen Jump that's like, all right, your popularity has dropped so low, you got 5 more chapters, end it.
Even though you made me write this motherfucker when I didn't want to.
I could have ended it a while ago. Well, we wanted to get every last dime out of it.
Yeah, I could have ended it a while ago while it was still like good.
But we're canceling your anime, and we're canceling you. And then in about 10 years, we'll have another anime for the actual final arc, which is what's going on now. And the first 2 episodes, and the animation's really good, I'll say, of these episodes. I'm interested to see if the story arc that I wasn't too fond of turns out to be a good, or to be better in anime form. Apparently, Kubo Tite is more involved with this anime thing, so there may even be some changes so that he can be like, this is the way I want it to end the story.
You talking about One Piece or Bleach right now?
Bleach. One Piece is still popular. Like,
yeah,
we live in America, so you wouldn't know that One Piece is popular. But literally, like I said, I think it was a couple years ago now that in terms of volumes of a particular series or, IP sold, One Piece passed up Batman.
I think you said that on a previous episode, yeah.
Yeah, One Piece has passed Batman worldwide in terms of volume sold. And is slated to, if it keeps up its popularity, eventually pass Superman.
That's nuts. Yeah, that's nuts. The 2 anime that you hear about in America being like the pivotal anime that everybody know. Well, I would say generational type whatever stuff would be Dragon Ball Z, We Know How Old You Are, and then after that it was Naruto.
Which was another one of the big 3. The big 3, as they're referred to, of Shonen Jump, were Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. Why are they the big 3? Because during a time when Shonen Jump did not have a lot of big hit series and seemed like it was gonna die out, Shonen Jump, the same magazine that did have Dragon Ball. But after Dragon Ball, it ended, and Hokuto no Ken ended a long time ago. Fucking Yu Yu Hakusho was over. A lot of the big names were just kind of, we're out, we're just done. One Piece hits, then Naruto shortly right after, and then Bleach shortly right after that, and the popularity of those 3 helped bring Shonen Jump back to being the top, manga people in Japan.
And it's so funny because it's like, I remember when I was in high school, I had friends that were really into Bleach, right?
Yeah.
They had Bleach hoodies. I think they had Bleach t-shirts, and they were really into anime.
Artistically, Bleach will get a lot of people hooked. It's a beautiful, it's great from an artistic standpoint. Kubo can draw his ass off.
Saying that about anime, one anime being artistically superior is wild, just because anime in and of itself is artistically crazy.
Well, that's what I meant, in the visual drawing aspect.
I'm saying
art style wise, I think he's better. I think Tite was technically better than Naruto or then Kishimoto or Oda, that said, or at least had a more generally accepted tone because it was kind of had the realist thing while being anime. One Piece is the goofiness of the art style, which has gotten to a point now to where you can tell, no, this shit is actually really good art, but it's kind of throws you off because of the uniqueness of Oda's way of doing things. That's why I would technically say it's accepted as the least in that regard, and Naruto's like a good medium between the two. Writing wise, in terms of the series itself, Naruto and One Piece, I think, are better written as a whole than Bleach. Not saying Bleach is a terribly written series. It's just, you want to talk about series that don't stick the landing. Bleach is one of them for the reasons I just mentioned. So as a whole, I'd say Naruto's better, even though Naruto, some can argue, by the end of that series, they just kind of was like, all right, we're ending this. Let's just be wacky doo-doo shit, but in a better way than Bleach did. Where with Naruto, it's like, well, 700 chapters. Y'all gonna end this. Let's just go along for the ride. Oh, that's weird. I don't like that, but it's ending soon. Bleach, it was a little bit of that, as well as, okay, no, I just really don't like this on top of it. Just like, why would you choose this? Why would you choose that? I can't even argue that you'd make this point. Like, it was crazy and kind of anticlimactic, but that's because it was forced to end, so that didn't help. One Piece, we'll see what happens.
That's the craziest thing. We'll see what happens just because it's been going on for so long.
He's claiming it's going to be over in 5 years, but like I said, the series was supposed to only be 5 years long. So,
that's wild that it's 25 years, which means that he's saying it'll be done 30 years from when it started.
He really wants to stop by around when he turns 50. We'll see if he gets to do that.
Bruh, we were like, shit, I was...
97 was when One Piece, the manga, started.
We were fucking little ass kids when this shit started. Why didn't One Piece seem to not pick up steam for real until all of a sudden?
It didn't help. What didn't help with One Piece in America was the 4Kids dub. 4Kids.
Oh yeah. Hey, to go buy them gum. That
See,
shit.
Here's the thing. I will go ahead and say, even though I don't necessarily like the 4Kids dub, because I don't, especially after seeing videos of why the 4Kids dub was bad, on top of just over censoring and stuff. 4Kids, if they can do anything right, it's theme songs for Americans to get it catchy.
For children especially, yes.
Yeah, theme songs for American children stuff, 4Kids got it. The fucking Yu-Gi-Oh song, while it wasn't even, it have a lot of words, it still was a catchy enough to get you into
that
it.
music, the way it was...
I want to be the very best.
Which motherfuckers who could give a fuck about anime, and a lot of people who know that theme song don't even know it's anime. We all still watch the hell out of that and know every, or at least 85% of the words to that theme song. To this day, all us millennials do. To this day. Oh, yes.
4Kids can do theme songs. Mm-hmm. But when they get their shows, because they really wanted to focus on being for kids, they over-censored a lot of things, like erasing guns in Yu-Gi-Oh!, turning guns into water guns in One Piece, which didn't help.
Cut out certain scenes or shots or whatever.
Yeah. So it's one thing. The over-censoring is one thing that didn't help it. But then they would start cutting apart episodes and mixing and matching to try and get around some of the edits, because One Piece, as goofy as it is on its exterior, does have some brutal moments and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's berserking with a goofy face. No, it's nothing like that. But it still has some moments where it can be real sad and tragic, and you have some shit that's depicted like, holy fuck, you know, I didn't know this goofy series about a rubber guy could have some serious moments, but it does. And it could also have some bloody moments where people get their ass whooped. It really is for teenagers as opposed to for little kids. Yeah. Whoever worked at 4Kids did not do their research when they got One Piece. Otherwise, 4Kids would not have acquired One Piece, and they would have let Funimation or somebody else do it from the get-go. Like Funimation, the people that we, did Dragon Ball and shit over here. But even mix and matching little bits out of episodes is one thing. But when you get to the point where you skip entire arcs cut out, that just means it's less quality. And
series of episodes just,
and with the series as long as this, like I said, a lot of stuff gets referenced from shit back before. And if you cut a whole, like, I'll put it this way, one member joining, without getting too much spoilers, one member joining the crew is solely based off of an arc that was cut out. Like the deciding factor in this person choosing to become part of the main party. They're like, oh, this thing from like 400 chapters ago, this is the reason. But 4Kids cut all that out.
So now you're just sitting there being like, when the fuck did you join?
But yeah, that and some of the choices they made, like, hey, Sanji is a chain smoker. Dude smokes all the fucking time. This is a lollipop.
Yeah.
He just, man, no one takes my lollipop out, no one makes me, I gotta have my suckers, gotta have my pops. But, and shit like that, just, it looked lame. Like, even like I said, the theme song was catchy enough for me to watch it. Hell, I referenced the theme song a lot when I was doing the Learn D lore thing. So the theme song is whatever, but then I would watch it and be like, this is okay, but
who's in charge of it now?
Funimation.
Oh, well then there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, after Skypiea, so around episodes like 180 or so, like during the 160s to 180s, 4Kids just canceled and dropped One Piece because it just bombed with viewership wise. And then like 5 years later, Funimation took over and they decided to start dubbing it again. And you get a lot of the people that do voice acting from Dragon Ball coming in here, doing their work and stuff, like Vegeta / Piccolo, Chris Sabat, he's Zoro. Yeah, he's Zoro, who is my favorite character in that show, and just the generic cool guy, whatever character. Sounds more like Piccolo, though. Luffy, Sanji, everybody's Krillin voices Usopp and all other kinds of shit. You'll just find voices shared throughout it. But by the time they tried to redo it on Toonami, like Toonami, when they brought Toonami back, they brought it back as a late night thing on Adult Swim, and they eventually were like, let's bring back One Piece and do it right. Adult Swim Toonami. We don't have to censor hardly anything because it's not like it's that fucking adult in nature of a series. But then they put it on at like 2:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Ain't nobody up for that shit.
And they started it, and rather than start it from the beginning, they decided to start it from about episode 207, because that's around when the formatting for the show switched to more 16:9, HD type deal, instead of the 4:3 traditional 90s animation.
From the beginning?
For the reboot on Toonami, no. Because they're like, everyone is familiar with the beginning. Also, around episode 320 or so, there's maybe not 320, that's too high. Around episode 280 or so, there is a little mini filler arc that catches you up on that has like each episode is here's the backstory and here's where every character in the main party got up to at this point. Like that was just part of the anime to begin with, so they're like, we can technically cover that when we get there, but let's start it from here. However, the arc they choose to start it from is one of the weakest arcs in the series, and you're doing it at 2:30 in the morning, and it's had bad execution.
Poor decision making.
When it comes over here. Poor decision making and bad execution on getting it started in the Western audience. More and more more and more U.S. people are finding out about it nowadays. Thanks to the pandemic, there are a lot of people who are like, well, I ain't got time to do nothing anyway. Guess I'll watch this One Piece. Oh,
it's
shit.
Long ass series, yeah.
And then they're like, oh, shit, why didn't I watch this long ass series? I mean, it's not dark, but damn. And I don't care if I don't want everyone to watch it so I can be like, haha, it's the best of the big three, motherfuckers. I told you. No, I just want people to watch it because I want people to enjoy something that I enjoy. Whether they think it's the best thing ever or not. I still say I like Dragon Ball as the best. That's my favorite anime. Is it the best from a objective standpoint of what is writing? Hell no. Death is hardly a consequence in that series. You can wish people back to life. Like, that automatically dequalifies it from being good literature. But that doesn't mean it's not an enjoyable series.
Facts.
Yeah.
Well, something else that might be enjoyable, if the episode was enjoyable, then another thing that you may want to enjoy would be to enjoy us on our separate socials from here. So if you would like to follow us on our separate socials, then you can look me up under the name Superjaz, which is spelled Superjaz. Anywhere you stream your music. I'm a rapper. I get my MC on from time to time. A year ago, I dropped my debut solo album, My Secret Identity. So you may have to look it up under Superjaz, My Secret Identity, because I'm not that famous yet. Also, you can go ahead and find and follow your boy on Twitter under the handle Superjaz2, which would be Superjaz2. And of course, you can go ahead and find me on Instagram under the name Forever Superjaz, the word forever spelled correctly. Where can they find you?
Well, obviously, you can find me here every week, every Wednesday, under Whatever We Want podcast. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube under the channel feogrande. That is Feo Grande. I have videos on there as well where I talk about movies and stuff. I mentioned it earlier with the series This Guy Hasn't Seen that I do with a good friend of mine, Bill Smith.
The dopeness.
Where we talk about things, like I said, this week's episode or yesterday's episode. It's new week's episodes every week, every Tuesday. Next week's episode was Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And, that was yesterday's episode. And next week's, I believe, speaking of anime, Hokuto no Ken, the movie, or Fist of the North Star, the 91 dub of the 86 movie, which is still good in its own right. But, it's old school dubbing. So, yeah. But no, that was a good movie as well, and that's what's going to be next week's episodes. Also on that channel, speaking of Dragon Ball Z, more videos with this guy here where we talk about all the DBZ movies. I'll put an asterisk, but all the DBZ movies that we knew of.
They put one out since, so...
There definitely was Superhero, which we need to do.
Yeah.
Superhero Dragon Ball. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Anyway, you can also find me elsewhere on Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Come on in, stop on by. I've been playing through the God of War series, which I also just mentioned. I probably will be starting God of War 2018 sometime this week, leading into God of War Ragnarok coming up soon, where I'll be streaming a lot of that when that comes out.
Okay. And of course, for all the wrestling heads, because we started this podcast off talking about wrestling, because we can never not talk about wrestling, because we've been watching wrestling forever. But for all of our wrestling heads, we also have first Sunday of every month. We talk about what happened in wrestling leading up to that first Sunday. It's on this exact same channel. First Sunday of the month, that's going to be First Sunday Wrestling. So, of course, all the wrestling heads, stop in, tap in, talk about the AEW, WWE, and everything in between proceedings. But yeah, man, whether it be Halloween Ends, whether it be One Piece, whether it be all the spoilers in between, you would think I would fucking know by now. What the fuck are we gonna talk about next time?
Whatever we want.
Be nice to yourself, everybody.
Adiosness.